So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everyone. With you, Rashid Nasiri, national consultant within the. So, let's give it a start. I'm Rashid Nasiri, a national consultant within United Nations Environment Program. And today we are pleased to kick off this site event concerning the governance of an international alliance regarding the Sustainable Oases Initiative, which has been launched at that time at COP22 in Marrakesh. So, as we already made some delay, without further ado, I would like to invite Mrs. Latifa Yacoubi, the Director General of UNZOA, which is the national agency in charge of oases and agroecosystems in Morocco. You have the floor, Mrs. Latifa.
شكرا جزيلا. السيد ممثل منظمة التغذية والزراعة، السيدات والسادة ممثلو الهيئات الحكومية والغير الحكومية، أيها الحضور الكريم، بداية أود أن أعبر لكم عن سعادتي للحضور معكم في هذا اللقاء المتميز، والذي جاء في إطار التظاهرة الدولية لمؤتمر الأطراف حول التغيرات المناخية في نسخته 28، والذي تستضيفه دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة الشقيقة. وهذا إن دل على شيء فإنما يدل على الاهتمام البالغ للتحول المناخي الذي يعرفه العالم. هذا اللقاء الذي ينظم بتعاون وبشراكة مع منظمة التغذية والزراعة مشكورة حول حوكمة مبادرة الواحات المستدامة، والتي تم إطلاقها بمؤتمر الأطراف في نسخته 22، والذي نظم بمدينة مراكش. حضرات السيدات والسادة، إن المملكة المغربية بقيادة صاحب الجلالة الملك محمد السادس نصره الله وأيده، وبفضل توجهاته النيرة والحكيمة ونظرته الاستباقية والشمولية لاستراتيجيات كبرى ومبادرات تتبعها الجدية والفعالية، تم إحداث الوكالة الوطنية لتنمية مناطق الواحات وشجر الأركان بفضل رعاية جلالته سنة 2010، والتي عرفت انطلاق أوراش ومشاريع اقتصادية واجتماعية لتحسين إنتاجها كماً وكيفاً عن طريق عقد شراكات واتفاقيات محلية إقليمية وطنية ودولية. إن الوكالة قد ساهمت في وضع منظومة لتوقع المخاطر وتأثير التغيرات المناخية ومحاربة التصحر في مناطق الواحات، والتي ندعو من خلالها إلى اعتماد منهجية عالمية لتنمية الواحات، والتي توليها المملكة المغربية الشريفة أهمية قصوى. منها مخطط المغرب الأخضر، وهو أول استراتيجية فلاحية من نوعها، وكذا استراتيجية الجيل الأخضر 2020-2030، وهناك أيضا برامج قطاعية أخرى. إن مجال الوحي جزء مهم من التراث، وهو إرث ثقافي وتاريخي وطبيعي قادر على تجسيد روح التنمية المستدامة وتحقيق عيش متوازن للأجيال الحاضرة وعيش كريم للأجيال القادمة. لذا ندعو إلى إنشاء آلية تشاركية لتدبيره وتحسين مؤشراته الاقتصادية والاجتماعية مع مواكبة النظم البيئية للواحات والشجر الأركان. وبذلك نعتبر لقاءنا اليوم حدثاً هاماً لأجل دعم حوكمة مبادرة الواحات المستدامة وتقديمها على هامش مؤتمر الأطراف حول المناخ في نسخته 28. سيداتي وسادتي، إن الغاية من إطلاق هذه المبادرة هو الاعتراف بخصائص النظام البيئي للواحات واتخاذ إجراءات منسقة للحفاظ على هذا التراث عبر العالم، لا سيما تنوعها البيولوجي ونظامها البشري، فضلا عن تنمية إمكانياتها الاقتصادية في إطار مقاربة للتنمية المستدامة. ويستهدف هذا المشروع التأقلم مع التغيرات المناخية بمناطق الواحات وإجراء عمليات جديدة للتهيئة المستدامة للموارد المائية ودعم المبادرات المحلية لفائدة الشباب والنساء في قطاعات الفلاحة والسياحة والصناعة التقليدية. قبل الختام لابد أن أجدد شكري لكل المساهمين في إنجاح هذا اللقاء المتميز والهام، وكذا الحضور الكريم، وإنها لفرصة سانحة من أجل التفاعل الإيجابي والجاد وتبادل وجهات النظر لتجارب دولية رائدة آملين الخروج بتوصيات تخص بالأساس مبادرة الواحات المستدامة، مع إيجاد إجابات لتساؤلات تخص من جهة الإطار المؤسساتي والقانوني، ومن جهة أخرى ترتيب وتحديد الاختصاصات والمهام الموكولة لها، وكذا البحث عن سبل ناجعة لحكامة جيدة كفيلة بتدبير محكم وفعال لهذه الهيئة وتحقيق انتظاراتها على أرض الواقع. شكرا جزيلا. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Mrs. Latifa Yacoubi, who recalled the context of creating the initiative, while, of course, recalling the important achievements and effort that Morocco has been deploying in the past decade with regard to forestation, particularly of oases in some key areas in Morocco. She also called, she put in the context to the site event, which is to explore ways to put in place the governance for such initiative, as the oasis ecosystems is a common ecosystem in the Middle East. And Mrs. Latifa uh, 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 finalized her insight and opening remarks by emphasizing that among the objectives of today's session is to come out with ways of putting the governance of such interesting initiatives um, uh, for next year. So without further ago, I would like to invite Mr. Zaytouni Ouldada, the Deputy Director at IFAO, to give his opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for this kind invitation for this event. We've been in this journey with the government of Morocco for many years, certainly since COP22, and we're really very pleased to see how this is coming into shape, how is it progressing. And when we had the UN Food System Summit, we talked about the transformation of agri-food systems to make them more resilient and efficient and also inclusive. And one of the key aspects of that transformation was actually to safeguard ecosystems and to leave no one behind. Uh, and that's where the oases come into contact. And that highlights the pertinence of oases. Why? Because oases, they're really unique ecosystems that host so many vulnerable populations who have a significant a proportion, or they represent significant proportion, particularly of smallholder farmers and pastoralists. So these ecosystems and their populations, they're fragile, and they should be really included in this transformation. And the communities, they also play an important role as guardians of the culture of oases. And also, there are thousands of years of knowledge of these ecosystems that also need to be protected. And in the context of climate change, well, climate change, of course, threatens really the existence of these ecosystems. All the extreme weather events of drought and also the demographic evolution and the migration affecting these ecosystems is also something that needs to be considered in the sustainable management of oases. There is also an important impact on biodiversity that is really worrying in these systems. So in terms of wildlife, the oases constitute an environment that is really conducive to high faunal diversity in relation to significant floral diversity as well. And there is also a concern about animal biodiversity, and we have been observing a loss of diversity for animal breeds in these ecosystems as well. And I think it's fair to say that oasis zones are also losing an important part of their heritage, including the local knowledge, and they are threatened by migration, by desertification, and by extreme climate and conflict events as well. So I just want to say how we have been supporting the government of Morocco, and we really applaud the achievement made by Morocco, which has really invested in these oasis ecosystems, in particular through the launch of this Sustainable Oasis Initiative that was at COP22 in Marrakesh, and also the creation of the National Agency for Development of Oasis and Argan Trees and Doza. And I really salute my dear sister Latifa Yaqoubi, who's the Director General of this organization and really sets the path very nicely for the importance of the oasis and the whole Argan ecosystem. So we have been very supportive through a number of projects. We have a couple of projects funded by the GEF, by the Global Environment Facility, on adaptive management and monitoring of oasis systems in the Maghreb, and that's actually in Morocco, Mauritania, and Tunisia. And another project which is specialized in the revitalization of oasis agroecosystems through a sustainable, integrated, and landscape approach in the Dar'a Tafilat region in Morocco. So these are some of the projects that really have been supporting this initiative, in addition to a big program that we have on the global important agricultural heritage systems. This is the GIS system that also contributes to the preservation of these agricultural and food systems in the oasis environment. And this GIS program contains 7 oasis sites that have been recognized in Morocco, in Egypt, in Algeria, in Tunisia, and also in the United Arab Emirates. So I hope this just highlights the importance of the initiative and really the evolution that has been taking this initiative forward with the leadership by Morocco and the creation of Andoza. And I just want to say that we're really supporting this going forward. We very much look forward to the governance of creating this alliance that hopefully will draw on a number of partners. The FAO is well behind this, and we really look forward to working with Morocco, Andoza, and others in taking it forward. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Zitounian. Can't agree anymore, as I am son of the oasis from the southeast of Morocco and totally aware of all the dimensions you mentioned about the importance of oasis. So I would like to invite now Mr. Bashiri Mohammed to give us an overview of the proposal today, which is related to the putting in place governance of the initiative. Over to you, Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you very much. I'm very delighted to be here with you to present our proposal of Governance International Alliance of the Sustainable Oasis and Initiative. I try to... Doesn't work? Should be. I try to do the presentation in 3 points. Reggie, please. In 3 points. I hope that works. I gave you the context of the Sustainable Oasis during the COP22, and I tell some words about objectives of this proposal, of this initiative, and in third point concern the proposal of structure of body of international alliance to implement the objectives of the Sustainable Oasis Initiative. As you know, the oases are a world heritage states, characterized by a rich ecosystem, plant and animal biodiversity, and by wealth, their natural resources and local products. In addition to their environmental, cultural, and social dimension, oases contribute to the food security, and many communities who have adapted for centuries a cope of external climatic conditions and challenges facing oasis areas. However, sustainable oasis development is uh, witnessed by numerous challenges exacerbated by climate change, which has been the greatest threat to oasis sustainability. Next, please. Go. If you can go. Next. Okay. Next. We have numerous obstacles here. We are facing the ways. I have nine obstacles. First of all, the scarcity of water and resources due to successive drought in recent years, deterioration of water quality due to irrational uses of groundwater. Obstacle 3 is soil degradation due to desertification and inappropriate agricultural practices. And obstacle 4, biodiversity loss due to market economic and poor farming practices. Obstacle 5, decline of farming activities and weakening of their profitability. And obstacle 6, decline of traditional cultural practices and disintegration of oasis communities. 7.1 is the agricultural pests and disease and limited knowledge of integrated pest management. The 8.1 is lack of appropriate legal and institutional framework for integrated sustainable oasis management. And the last one concerns the youth migration. In this situation, Kingdom of Morocco has present at the COP of COP22 held in November 7 to 80 on 2060 in Marrakesh, the Sustainable Oasis Initiative to take appropriate, joint, and concerted action ensure survival oasis worldwide and their continued performance in their multiple economic, social, and cultural roles. The Sustainable Oasis Initiative aims to better recognition of specific feature and unique fragility of the oasis ecosystem. Activate agreed measure to protect this vital heritage in practical its biological diversity ecosystem and human system. And the last, enhance the skills of oasis in the name of sustainable development. The objectives of this initiative is put in 3 pillars. First is to recognize the unique character of oasis and their vulnerability. Second pillar is to preserve, act in favor of the conservation of oasis heritage, biodiversity, and human system. And the last pillar is to develop, invest in action ensuring the economic sustainable of oasis. On behind the conference of the party, the participants at the event recommended 3 points. The first one is to set up an international coalition. This international coalition is between countries concerned by the oasis issues. And the second recommendation concerns creating an organization to achieve the objective of the Sustainable Oasis Initiative. The last recommendation is mobilization of financial resources for development of these oasis. This is the recommendation. And also from this time, we have organized many manifestations, and in order to publicize this initiative and raise awareness of its importance in, in order to work to establish an international coalition around the initiative in which countries or regional or international organizations concerned to help in advocacy. The proposal now, the objective of proposal of our alliance have uh, 5 mains. The first mains is introducing the Sustainable Oases Initiative at the international level. The second, promoting the initiative as a strategy in line with international agreement. Third is better recognition of the unique character and fragility of the oasis. The fourth main is mobilizing resources for the implementation of the initiative. And the last one, preparing and contributing to the implementation of projects arising from the initiative. Our structure is in 3 or 4 levels. First, the Council of Members or General Meeting. The second level is Executive Board or Board of Directors. The third one is General Secretary or Executive Office, paid or helped by technical committees. The role of each level is General Assembly. It consists of all members of belonging to the alliance, and its duration is not limited to a specific time. Board Director, it consists of about limited members selected by the council, and its validity period limited in time, 3 years, for example. Executive office it consists of a secretary general appointed by the board directors and a small administrative team to assist him in managing the affairs of the alliance. And the last one, technical committee, is formed needed by the board directors for a specific period of time. The tasks of each level, for example, General Assembly is selection. It makes selection of members of the board of directors from among its members. Define the overall strategy of the alliance. Examine and approve the alliance's articles of association. Dissolve if necessary the alliance, and select the board of directors. Prepare the alliance's and internal law. The board of director or um, it's concerned by selected the executive office and defines its task, identifies priorities, mechanism, and arrangement to achieve the objectives, oversee the preparation and implementation of the alliance's strategy and action plan, implementing the strategic directives of General Assembly of the Alliance and approves Alliance's policies, programs, plans, and budgets, prepares the Alliance's internal rules, and monitors the materials and financial achievement of the Alliance. The last task of the Executive Office is to prepare the presentation of Sustainable Oases Initiative in national and international forums, organize meeting with the relevant bodies and institutional, and preparing and signing memorandum of understanding and arrangements. So task 3, it represents the alliance in a local and regional and international meeting. Task 4, implementing the decision of the board of directors and preparing financial and material reports. Task 5, preparing practical programs and determining their financial and human needs. Film, please.
They can be warm like the Sahara, cold as the Asian desert of Gobi, polar in the Arctic and Antarctica. The Earth's wealth has given birth to many deserts. Alongside these hyper-arid regions, which receive less than 50 millimeters of precipitation per year, there are arid and semi-arid zones. They cover 40% of the surface of our planet and are home to more than 2 billion people. It is in Africa that we find proportionally the most arid land. They cover 2/3 of the continent. In these areas, oases are the richest ecosystems. These islands of greenery in the heart of immense arid expanses are always located in shallow pools of water. These are agrosystems where populations generally practice irrigated agriculture combined with extensive family livestock rearing. But these spaces are exposed to multiple threats. Climate change, the announced temperature rises and decreases in rainfall will primarily affect arid lands. Scarcity of water resources are decreasing due to global warming, but also to their overuse and mismanagement. Desertification is aggravated by the degradation of soils vulnerable to wind and water erosion. Silting constitutes a major danger for infrastructures and agglomerations. These phenomena could threaten the survival of oasis systems organized around agricultural activities, lead to loss of biodiversity, and have dramatic consequences for populations, poverty, food insecurity, migration.
عاد المنطقة هي بلاد جفاف بزاف تيكسنا ناب بزاف أين غنديرو شنو هو مال هاد القطرة هادي راه الحياة ديال 2500 نسمة اللي عايشة هنا وكنطلبوا باش يحيوها لنا راه إلا مات راه كلشي غيموت كلشي غيشوف فين غادي يمشي مؤسف باش تشوف هاد الشجرة مسكينة كانت في الأول كناكل فيها الثمار أنا عقلت عليها ملي باقي صغير كناكل فيها الثمار دابا هي اليوم بفعل هذا الجفاف الحالات وذاك راه ما شاء الله.
Morocco is home to one of the largest oases in the world, whose palm groves cover more than 70,000 hectares. The oases are home to 2 million inhabitants and are home to flora and fauna specific to arid regions. Former relay points on the caravan routes, they are part of the Moroccan identity. But these territories remain fragile. In some oases, silting leads to reductions in plant cover and harms biodiversity. Many protective measures have been put in place. Work to combat silting has been undertaken since the middle of the last century. More than 42,000 hectares of dunes have already been fixed using mechanical and biological barriers, and the roads are protected against silting. The Southern Moroccan Oasis Biosphere Reserve was created in 2000, over more than 80,000 square kilometers. Green belts are established around cities in the southern provinces. Endangered animal species like the oryx are being reintroduced. The Green Morocco Plan, the result of the enlightened vision of His Majesty King Mohammed VI, initiated in 2008, has also implemented an ambitious program to plant 3 million date palms by 2020. This objective has been 100% achieved. A further 5 million date palms are planned as part of the Generation Green strategy. And the creation in 2010 of the National Agency of the Development of Oasis Zones and the Argan Tree, ANZOA, enabled the launch of a strategy for the sustainable and integrated development of oasis zones, and the Argan Tree, presented to His Majesty in 2013, constitutes a response to climate change through achievement of several sustainable development goals. During COP22, Morocco presented an initiative on an international scale, the Sustainable Oases Initiative. Since then, several actions have been undertaken. Under the high patronage of His Majesty King Mohammed VI, Ouarzazate has the honor of hosting the first edition of the IOC. Ouarzazate is itself at the heart of a region dotted with oases. It has been able to turn its natural environment into opportunities for development, tourism, movie studios, solar energy with Noor, the largest multi-technology solar power plant in the world, space for exchange and dialogue. This initiative will be an opportunity to examine good practices to promote the development of oasis spaces in the world. Although not the only challenge, climate change is a common concern. Arid zones could gain 5 to 8% in Africa by 2080. However, oases have always played a crucial role as a bulwark against desertification. How to preserve them, how to value them, how to develop them. Every country faces these questions. By pooling our know-how and experience, solutions will emerge that encompass environmental, economic, and social dimensions. Because the oases are not the problem, but the solution.
السلام عليكم. الواحة هي مصدر العيش ديالنا، خصنا نحافظوا عليها ونحميوها، وإلا ضاعت منا غادي نضيعو. نمشي.
Sustainable Oasis Initiative, space where every gesture counts to preserve and develop oases agrosystems.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed Bashiri, for this overview. Aware of time, I would like to invite our speakers to our panel. First of all, I would like to invite our colleagues from ICAT, Mr. Vinay and Mr. Ajit, to the panel. I would like to invite as well Mr. Mehdi Arifi, Director General of the Agriculture Development Agency, and Mr. Ayman Sharkawi, the coordinator of the Hassan II Center for Environmental Education. Oui, je l'utilise pas. Très bien. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. So aware of time, I will ask some specific questions. Maybe we'll invite you to give some concise and brief responses. So starting with colleagues from ICAT, I think following what we all heard in the opening remarks, but also the overview that Mr. Bashiri presented, maybe from your perspective within ICAT, if you can share maybe concrete examples and specific examples where sustainability of oasis has been successfully applied, can be maybe from approaches at the community level that have been tested, but also insights that have been produced in this regard regarding the preservation of ecosystem of oasis ecosystems. So if you can share with us examples from your work in the past year. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you for the question. My name is Vinay Nangia. I'm the research program leader for soil water agronomy at ICARDA. ICARDA stands for International Center for Agricultural Research in the Dry Areas. We are the premier CGIAR center specializing in dryland agriculture. So we know what water scarcity means. We work in dry areas from China to Morocco, and we have seen deserts, we have seen oasis kind of landscapes in China, in India, in GCC countries, as well as in North Africa. Uh, I'm living in Rabat in Morocco, so I have seen these oases firsthand. Just last week, we were in Agadir alongside our colleagues from Andazoa, trying to develop a joint proposal for the Darwin Call. And so we know what this landscape looks like, and we are trying to co-develop sustainable solutions, trying to see how we can stay within the planetary boundaries, not just of water, but biodiversity, soil degradation, everything. These are very fragile ecosystem, but at the same time, they support the livelihoods of really poor people. You cannot afford to preserve these at the expense of the livelihoods of these people living here. So what we are trying to do is trying to promote agriculture in such a way that it's sustainable, it's highly profitable, it is having a low environmental footprint. So how can you diversify these systems such that the need for inorganic fertilizer reduces? How can you diversify these systems such that they can withstand harsh heat conditions? So what we are trying to do is trying to move towards more profitable cropping options. that can serve even the hospitality industry around these oases. So if these oases can grow cactus, can grow mint, can grow other kinds of aromatic oils that can be used for hospitality industry, say in Marrakesh or in Agadir or elsewhere, this is a win-win for everybody. So instead of just trying to produce marginal commodities, you try to produce something that is highly profitable, requiring very little land and water resources. At the same time, you're adding value. So you're trying to use cactus as a fruit, you're using it as an oil, you're trying to use it as an industrial input for making cosmetics, and that way you can earning a higher livelihood for the people. Also, we are trying to reduce the environmental footprint. If you look at the farmers in this area, they don't have electricity, they're off grid. So what we are trying to do is, instead of using diesel pumps, how about we use solar pumps, and that too with very low energy. So what we have introduced in partnership with MIT and INRA are ultra low energy drip irrigation systems. These systems operate at 85% lower pressure. So with hardly one or two solar panels, you can irrigate 1 hectare of argan or olives or some other tree. So that way you need very small pump. And we have seen that the greenhouse gas emissions from switching from a diesel pump to a solar pump using these drippers can reduce your greenhouse gases by 64%. So we're trying to do various different things on the crop side of things, on the energy side of things, on the water supply side of things, to make sure we are staying within the planetary boundaries and trying to sustainably maintain these ecosystems without trying to disrupt them, and still keeping the youth engaged. My colleague will talk about how digitalization is helping these youth and these fragile ecosystems. But I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I think this is the kind of insight and best practices that the initiative is trying to put together and to make it visible to the countries where oasis ecosystem are widely spread. Uh, Mr. Ayman, from your perspective, maybe in 2 minutes, given we are limited on time, what can be the role of education and raising awareness of communities, but also young generation, with regard to preserving the existing oasis ecosystem? And given this is one of the mandate as well of the oasis initiative, can you share with us maybe some insight on this regard? Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm sure we'll hear about digitalization very, very soon. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Ayman Sharqawi with the Mohammed VI Foundation for Environmental Protection. Very happy to be here in this beautiful pavilion and also, of course, in this beautiful country for COP28. And as you mentioned, Marrakech, we'll be speaking a bit about Marrakesh as COP22 took place there, but also because His Majesty the King Mohammed VI entrusted in 2005 with the stewardship of the Marrakesh Palm Grove, Her Royal Highness Princess Al Hasna, who's the chair of the Mohammed VI Foundation for Environmental Protection. So I give some examples very briefly about what we do. We have what we believe to be an ecosystemic approach, one that is based on nature-based solution, but we always want to do more, want to do it better. So what we're currently doing, we do plantation, we do voluntary carbon offsetting through our nature-based solutions. We do maintenance and watering of planted areas, watering with treated wastewater. We support family farms in the practice of agroecology. And as you were inviting me to speak on, we do a lot on environmental awareness and education initiatives. To give you some numbers, to date, we have planted more than 620,000 plants. It's about 5,000 palm trees a year, and it sequestrates the equivalent of 162 tons of equivalent CO2. We do a lot in terms of the maintenance of restructured and protected palm grove, about 600 hectares that are benefiting from that program. And what I think will speak quite clearly to this pavilion is we stimulate agricultural dynamic through the introduction of agroecological practices with the support of 50 family farms located in the northwestern palm grove, about 100 hectares that are being developed using agroecology. And we helped the creation of an agricultural cooperative. We initiated the process for that this Marrakesh Palm Grove is classified as a site of biological and ecological interest. We are also very committed for environmental education. All the schools that are in the Marrakesh Palm Grove are part of the Eco Schools program. So all the students that are there are benefiting from this kind of very important educational elements about the environment, but also about the cultural dimensions that are associated with the Marrakesh palm grove, for it to be a source of pride and part of the tangible and intangible material patrimony of cultural heritage of Morocco. We also, and I think that we speak to the governance of this important initiative going forward, we helped with the creation of an observatory of the Marrakesh palm grove, so that there is a stakeholder that is local, that is connected with the local stakeholders, and they can observe, they can speak, they can raise awareness, they can raise alert, they can help accelerate the kind of positive action we want to see. And finally, two elements I wanted to share with you. It's important to act based on knowledge. And in that regard, we establish a digital and cartographic survey of the entire Marrakesh palm grove, which is about 12,000 hectares, so not exactly very small. And then we're also very keen on preventing the dumping of waste and rubble and other sources of degradation and pollution in the area. And as I mentioned, we are enhancing our ecosystemic approach through a new sustainable management of the Marrakesh Park Grove. Two steps. First, we did inventory and diagnosis of the ecosystem, and we've established a roadmap for the implementation of this new ecosystem approach. And I will rest here because I know we are behind schedule. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ayman, and kudos to the greatest effort of the Mohammed VI Foundation for Environmental Protection, which is an integral component of environmental effort at the country level. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Mehdi Arifi, the Director General of Agence de Développement Agricole. Comme on le connaît, l'agence il est accrédité par le Fonds d'adaptation, par le GCF. Et il y avait pas mal d'efforts qui ont été déployés durant les 10 dernières années, que ce soit au niveau des écosystèmes organiés et aussi au niveau des oasis. Si vous pouvez partager avec nous des exemples de projets qui ont été mis en œuvre durant ces dernières années et comment ces projets ont eu un impact pour les communautés, comme on a été évoqué tout à l'heure par M. Zitouni, que ces écosystèmes sont principalement destinés à ces communautés qui habitent dans des écosystèmes.
Merci beaucoup. Vous allez traduire?
Je ferai un petit résumé enfin.
D'accord, d'accord. Donc, je m'appelle, my name is Mehdi Arife. I am the Director General of Agency for Agricultural Development. I will speak in French. It's more easy for me, and he will translate. No problem. Comme vous l'avez dit, notre agence est une agence d'abord qui joue un rôle clé dans la mise en œuvre de la stratégie agricole du Royaume du Maroc. Nous sommes investis dans la mission principale de promouvoir l'investissement agricole, mais également de promouvoir l'agriculture solidaire, résiliente et durable. Et pour cela, nous sommes accrédités, nous sommes le seul organisme public au Maroc qui est accrédité auprès du Fonds vert pour le climat et le Fonds d'adaptation climatique. Et de ce point de vue-là et de cette accréditation, nous jouons un rôle très important dans les espaces oasiens et dans les ondes d'Arganier, bien sûr en collaboration avec nos amis et nos collègues de l'Agence nationale de développement des oasis et des ondes d'Arganier. Après là, dire la partie.
So, Mr. Mahdi, put in context the existence and the creation of the Agriculture Development Agency, which contribute to Morocco's Green Generation Plan, which is the agriculture strategic plan of the country. He emphasizes that the role of the agency, among others, is to promote investment in agriculture, including sustainable, resilient agriculture, but also solidarity agriculture within communities, and that the fact that such agency exists and accredited within two major funds is an asset for the country as the agency ambitions to grow up and go beyond the territory of Morocco, of course.
Yes, we are accredited by GCF and yes, Adaptation Fund. Conséquent, je dirais de par notre mission pour l'agriculture durable et notre accréditation auprès de ces fonds, nous accordons une importance clé à l'espace oasien et nous soutenons très fortement l'initiative Oasis durable que le Royaume du Maroc que le Royaume du Maroc a présenté lors de la COP 22 à Marrakech et qui aujourd'hui, c'est une initiative, l'initiative Oasis Durable, c'est une initiative qui devient urgente et qui appelle toute l'urgence pour qu'il soit mise en application, notamment par la mise en place des instances de gouvernance, comme l'a présenté M. Bchri, et par la mise en place surtout des moyens et des mécanismes de financement.
Mr. Mehdi emphasized the importance of the Sustainable Oasis Initiative, reflecting the severe impact of climate change in the region, particularly in North Africa and the Middle East, and that the initiative is timely to be operationalized in these times, given the vulnerability that these ecosystems are facing going forward.
Je saisis l'occasion qui m'est offerte pour remercier le Fonds d'adaptation qui a financé un excellent projet au niveau des zones oasiennes du Maroc. C'est un projet d'adaptation des zones oasiennes au changement climatique. C'est un projet, un financement sous forme d'un don de 10 millions de dollars américains et qui a eu des résultats très positifs, notamment en matière de mobilisation et de renforcement de l'offre hydrique, en matière également de diversification des revenus des habitants et des agriculteurs, et en matière aussi de renforcement des capacités de partage de l'information.
Mr. Mehdi also mentioned, thanked the Adaptation Fund for the project that has been funded through the fund of about 10 million, and which allowed to generate positive results in terms of water management resources, but also capacity building of communities, which are where oasis exists.
Également, un projet très important, je vais finir dans 30 secondes, un projet très important que nous sommes en train d'exécuter avec l'ONZOA dans les espaces de l'Arganier. C'est un projet aussi qui est financé par le Fonds vert pour le climat à hauteur de 40 millions de dollars américains. C'est un don aussi pour améliorer l'adaptation de la biosphère de l'Arganier aussi.
And finally, another example of project which is related to preservation of argan ecosystems, also funded by the Adaptation Fund with a grant of $40 million, which goes in the same orientation and vision as the Oasis project that has been funded by the Adaptation Fund.
Les exemples que je viens de citer nous poussent à lancer un appel fort et urgent dans le cadre de la COP 28 pour la mise en place d'un fonds dédié à l'initiative Oasis durable. Et ça devient très important parce que sans ça, on peut pas atteindre les objectifs de cette initiative très importante.
Absolutely. And the examples I mentioned is a call for all of us to upscale the efforts by operationalizing this initiative. Why not dedicating a fund for Oasis ecosystems, and why not as well including it in the negotiation text as well?
La dernière chose, si vous permettez, c'est que on se réjouit dans le cadre de la première journée de la COP 28 ici à Dubaï, avec la mise en place et la création d'un fonds dédié aux pertes et préjudices. Et je pense que les espaces les plus vulnérables et les plus exposés aux pertes et préjudices à cause des changements climatiques, c'est les espaces oasiens. Et donc, nous nous réjouissons de ça et nous faisons un appel pour la mise en place d'un fonds dédié spécialement aux oasis dans le cadre de l'initiative Oasis Durable. Et merci.
Thank you so much. With our friends from ICAT, maybe in less than 1 minute, on what do you see the takeaway as well? When it comes to the initiative, what are your takeaways as well? What do you recommend to make sure that what Mr. Mahdi emphasized in terms of putting the emergency of Oasis? So, what's your takeaway from what has been presented so far? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm good morning. I'm Ajit going from ICARDA. I'm a senior climatologist and also coordinating the digital activities at ICARDA. So Oasis is a very unique ecosystem within the MENA region, which is already extremely vulnerable to climate change. And this ecosystem faces triple challenges: climate change, vulnerability, land degradation, and biodiversity loss. So we are doing a lot of things in this regard. For example, in the digital sector, For example, these vulnerable communities may not have enough climate information and advisory, so digital tools can be used for that. With the use of remote sensing and things of that sort, we can also develop strategies to or solutions to map the red palm weevil infestation, which is a very important issue in the date palm sector. I just want to evoke one major initiative in the CGIAR on climate vulnerability called Climber, which is operational in Morocco, where we really try to address transformative adaptation by engaging with high-level stoic policymakers in order to develop policies and solutions that can be really trickle down to local issues, such as oasis is one of the interesting things that we could discuss and bring it to high level issues such as national adaptation plans. So in the coming future, we will have a high level stakeholder dialogue, science policy dialogue on water issues in Morocco. And I really look forward to engage with this sustainability of oasis initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for your participation, and congratulations to Anzo and the government of Morocco for this key milestone, which is a follow-up of COP22 legacy concerning the advocacy for Oasis initiative. This is a key milestone towards the operationalization of this key initiative. Thank you once again, and looking forward to exchanging with you. Thank you so much.